Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to welcome you to the 90th webinar and the first episode of Series 8 titled Secure Transactions Register in collaboration with the Credit Information Bureau of Sri Lanka. This is the 90th BASL webinar for the years 2026-2027. This webinar series is organized by the Webinars and Legal Symposiums Committee of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the chairman of the Webinars and Legal Symposiums Committee and the president of Bar Association, Mr. Rajiv Amrasurya, the co-chairman, Mr. Nalin De Silva, secretary of BASL, and Mr. Pasinda Silva, treasurer of BASL, and the conveners, co-conveners, and the members of the Webinars and Legal Symposiums Committee. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Executive Committee of the Bar Association for all the support and guidance. For today's webinar on Secure Transactions Register, in collaboration with the Credit Information Bureau, we have with us two esteemed panelists, Mr. Pushpika Jayasundara and Mr. Janaka Lakmal. Mr. Pushpika Jayasundara is currently the Director and General Manager Credit at the Information Bureau of Sri Lanka. He has over 28 years of experience in the field of banking and finance, out of which 12 years comprise of working in two leading commercial banks in Sri Lanka. After leaving the banking industry, he gave leadership to two quoted non-bank financial institutions as Director CEO for over 16 years. He has progressive experience in strategic planning, risk and credit management, business development and marketing, finance and treasury management, recoveries and debt restructuring, business process reengineering and digitalization. He holds a master's in business administration, specialized in finance from the Sikkim Manipal University, SIMA, and ICM UK. He is presently reading for his MPhil PhD in economics at Colombo University. I warmly welcome Mr. Pushpika Jayasundara to today's webinar. Mr. Janaka Lakmal is currently the Deputy General Manager at Credit Information Bureau of Sri Lanka. He joined the Bureau in 2006 as a project manager for the CRIB modernization project and spearheaded the business process reengineering and technology transformation initiative with the implementation of a centralized credit reporting framework covering all banks and finance companies in Sri Lanka. In addition to his co-profile in credit reporting development and operational activities, he headed the Secure Transaction System Development Project 2010 to 2015, where the CRIB has formed a unique operational framework and implemented an electronic registration system for security interests in movable assets, also known as STR. The first such institution and legal setup established by any operating credit bureau in the world. He is by profession an engineer specialized in IT systems integration and was employed at John Keells and Bartlett Groups prior to joining the Credit Information Bureau. He counts for more than 30 years of experience in the financial and IT services industries. Mr. Lakmal holds a master's degree in computer science from the Georgian Technical University, Tbilisi, Georgia, and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. I warmly welcome Mr. Janaka Lakmal to today's webinar. To moderate today's session, we have with us Senior Instructing Attorney, Ms. Shranti Gunawardana, a senior attorney at law with over 50 years of experience. I cordially invite Senior Instructing Attorney, Ms. Shranti Gunawardana, to commence today's proceedings.
Thank you very much. Today, a great pleasure for us to have Mr. Pushpika and Lakmal, both of them. We must remember as lawyers, this is the most important piece of legislature within this century. For long years, we never had priority for movable. The movable registration was only contained in the Registration of Documents Ordinance, which was introduced in 1927. With the introduction of this SDR, this new act, and setting up of this authority, a new page, a new law was created in legal history. And we should all make use of this. There are so many instances, so many explanations, and so many operational instructions that we require. That is the reason, with the blessings of Mr. Rajiv Amarasuriya, our esteemed president, we wanted this to be our first webinar, but we are hoping to have a series of webinars on this issue. And the most important thing is to educate our lawyers. Now I invite Mr. Pushpika Jayasundara to do the conceptual and legal part, whilst Lakmal will do the operational part. And further, I would like to tell you, there will be question time where you can send your questions to chat box. If not, even I will be raising some questions which will be beneficial to us. Over to you, Pushpika. Thank you.
Very good evening to you, Ms. Gunawardena, and all the participants. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude for the Bar Association, Mr. Rajiv Amasuria and Mrs. Gunawardena, for us to basically engaged and gave the opportunity to enlighten one of the most eloquent professionals in the country on the new legislation and as script how we are engaged in taking the register, the electronic register forward. So thank you very much, Mrs. Gunawardena, for the opportunity given. With that note, I would basically go into my presentation where we would first look at why this register has been introduced. Hope everyone can see the slides.
I can see the slides. Push, push, and excuse me, please. You have muted yourself, Mr. Pushpika. You have muted yourself.
Sorry, let me, yeah. Ms. Murugan, you can now hear, no?
I can hear now.
I'm audible, yeah. Yeah, okay. Let me basically go back to the slide on what is secure transaction registry. So if I just browse through, this is the act has been passed, and the legislation is active today to see that the transactions on movable property and its legal right over the secured interest on movable assets can be registered in an electronic register. So I'm sure, as Mrs. Gunawardena noted at the beginning, for a long period, especially the lenders in the financial sector had a gap or a structural gap that had been experienced, where there was no structural form of procedure that these secured interests can be registered other than the land registry, where it was a manual process. The visibility was not clear. So here, through this act, the legal framework has been provided to register the secured interest in a electronic register. Also, by creating this legal framework, it has given an institutional arrangement for the secured lending over movable properties. So there is an authority that has been created. The authority has been created to manage and to take necessary decisions on the perspective that is covered through the act, the scope that is covered through the act. The authority is basically have an oversight, and then the authority takes certain decisions to see that the development in the area is being prompt and then according to the current requirements. So the new legislative statute having a centralized public registry online is the key factor that we are basically talking about today. So it is number one, an electronic register. Number two, it is a public register. So anybody, any public individual or a corporate would be able to do a search and find out what is basically the position of a secured interest on a movable asset. Then it is online. The CRIB has basically provided all these facilities today through the electronic registry. So if I go into the problem, what is the problem that this legislative or this particular piece of law try to resolve? So this is mainly that by giving an electronic register and by allowing the visibility on the secured interest, it is trying to resolve that there is an hindrance on providing credit to movable assets. So if you look at most banks, most NBFIs, in terms of movable assets to be given as collateral and to obtain lending, it was not possible because of the lack of proper legal framework that was there. So with this, that proper legal framework has been given, and by doing this, the objective of this act was to see that the credit inclusivity in the country and the access to credit to every part of Sri Lanka is being promoted. So why CRIB had been involved in this is, CRIB's main objective today is that we are in the forefront of enhancing credit inclusivity in the country. So if I just give certain statistics in this regard, as a country, we have roughly about 19 million out of a 23 million population who are actively involved in economic activities. So out of this approximate 18 million economically active population, there is only 50% who has today can access formal registered credit institutions to obtain credit. So the rest, almost 50% of the country, are unable to access formal institutions, mainly due to various factors. One, they don't have their footprint in the credit ecosystem, where CRIB is today trying to address this matter, and it is one of our key objectives. Number two is that mostly when you step into a bank or a finance institute, in order to secure their security interest, in order to secure their interest over the lending that they have granted, they will request the borrower to provide an immovable asset. So this has been the criteria. So we have actually, as a country, moved forward with collateral lending. So in collateral lending, we have basically focused mostly, that is 80 to 85% on immovable properties. So movable properties, why the banks and finance companies were reluctant to accept was that there was no proper structured legal framework in case of recourse, in case of priority marking, in case of dispute resolution. So all these aspects have been covered in the legislation which was passed as number 17 of 2024 Secure Transaction Act. So as I told, today many businesses, individuals suffer unable to obtain loans or credit for their day-to-day activities. So that is why this gap, to fulfill this gap, this particular legislation has been introduced. So through this legislation, it is very simple and very structured in a structured manner, would be able to provide immovable assets, things like inventories, machinery, receivables, livestock, crop as security, and create the security interest over these assets in the electronic register that we have provided. So this prevents multiple borrowings. So usually when there is no visibility, what usually happens is, when you, if I get an example, when you provide a machine as a security, say Bank A can obtain the machine A as security, do a mortgage bond on the machinery and provide the required loan. But what at present used to do the Bank A would be is to register the mortgage bond at the land registry. But it is a manual process. The visibility is not there for anyone other than you go to the land registry after a process to check whether it is being done. So this is done on chronological order, where you have to go in a manual registry, look for this particular record to see whether the security interest is marked, which is not practical at all. So due to this process, the borrower can take the same machine to a Bank B and request for another loan. So the Bank B is unable to instantly look at the security interest of this asset. So the Bank B's risk on providing a credit on this loan is extremely high. So due to this factor, banks and NBFIs are reluctant to provide facilities. So this matter has been completely resolved, where multiple registration could not be done, because through a search, the bank B can find out whether the security interest is been marked, whether the priority is there with whatever the bank, and on top of it, what is the valuation, how much lending has been given. So all this information today basically are captured in the electronic registry that CRIB has provided. So this prevents multiple borrowing. Then search function, the ability to search and find out this information are all available. So if you go through the purpose and the benefits of it, are basically enhanced credit access is one of the key requirements. Then collateralization on movable assets, different types of assets, which I will cover in a future slide. Then SMEs and various sectors in the credit ecosystem or in the economy who are contributing significantly for the development of the economy can be funded or would be able to provide credit facilities, capital due to this register. And innovative credit products can be introduced, especially supply chain financing, where a credit gap is being identified in the country, where in case of manufacturing, the supplier chain funding is extremely difficult in the present context. So having a well-formulated secure transaction register will assist a complete supply chain funding, which will actually focus on developing the manufacturing sector, export sector in the country. So these are some of the main benefits that the secure transaction register can bring into the economy. So let me give a brief outlining on the structure that it will work. So we have three key actors in this, where we have the lender here, that is bank or finance institute. We have a borrower here, one of the key actors, and we have the secure transaction registry on this side. So we have introduced the register. The Credit Information Bureau has introduced the electronic register. So when the borrower requires a loan from the lender to provide the loan would ask a collateral. So instead of a immovable asset, now a movable asset can be given to the lender. So the lender would accept this due to the fact that it has a legal context. It is visible for the lender to assess risk, and there is a recourse mechanism embedded in the legal framework, and there is a dispute resolution also embedded in the legal framework. So due to these factors, the lender would accept it and basically register immediately with the secure transaction register, where it is a public register, and once it is registered, it will have the legal rights on the secured interest to the first lender who registers, and the public can do a search and find out the incumbrance over this secured asset. So this is a basic structure where three parties or actors would act and then see that a transaction is being fulfilled. So it is structured, it is highlighted in the act. The required framework, institutional framework, has been incorporated into this. So let's basically go into have an understanding on the features of the STR. So this is one of the biggest databases that we are we will be creating. It will be user-friendly, it is transparent, and it is very simplified manner. The rules are general rules that we have introduced, a very simple a process to be registered and to carry out searches. Then there is a legal protection. Robust procedures are in place to protect both borrowers and lenders in case of default. Then enhanced trust in the system. Then a dispute resolution has been embedded in the Act. So in case of a dispute, there is no reason to immediately go into litigation, but there is a resolution where the parties concerned can resolve it in a simple process, where the Act itself has proposed the required steps. Then a robust search function. Any public can, through a search on the identifier that we have given, see whether there is legal rights over whatever the asset, movable asset, that it is being searched. So this helps, say, in case of an example, say in case of that you are wanting to purchase a vehicle which is mortgaged, the vehicle mortgage, if it is been the secured rights have been registered through a search, the interested party can see whether there is a encumbrance or a secured interest registered in this. So if there is a secured interest registered in the asset, then further clarifications from the seller can be made by the interested party. So up to a level, considering the data protection laws and other required laws, the CRIB will provide in the future for the public to carry out a search and see whether there is encumbrance on any of the assets that is being looked at. Then this is an electronic database. So having an electronic database, there are many advantages where we would be able to provide accurate, governed data to the party required. Then we would be able to give analytical information for the development of the credit ecosystem, as well as for other regulators and decision makers to see that different areas of economies can be focused on developing and assisting. So all these things are possible due to this particular electronic register. So let me just touch upon the legal framework to this. The enactment of the new Act number 17 of 2024 with 6 other amendments. So there are 6 acts which I will basically list on the next slide, were made to facilitate an implementation of fully fledged secure transaction registry, which took place on 12th August 2025. So the CRIB provided the leadership for the enactment of the legislation, developed the application and formation of the authority. So in order to obtain the approval, required approvals for the Act, development of the Act, development of the electronic register, and the formation of the authority, CRIB was in the forefront. CRIB is a technological service provider to the Secure Transaction Registry through the Act itself, and Central Bank and Finance Ministry had been assisting CRIB on facilitating this endeavor. So the legally effective date of the register is 12th August 2024. That is actually the date that it was gazetted. The Gazette notification number 239744 was basically affected on 12th August 2024. Nevertheless, the crib had to take certain time period to develop the application in-house and see that the entire application was up to the required security and other operational requirements of the market, and then to see that it was launched. So the first launch on the Secure Transaction Registry took place on 3rd November 2025. So you will see that the act was made effective on 2024, and the launch of the Secure Transaction Registry took place on 3rd November 2025. So there is a gap. So within this gap, the security interest that has to be registered in the Secure Transaction Registry as per the requirement of the law was carried out at the land registry, and once the application was launched on November 3rd, we agreed with the Finance Ministry and the required authorities that we would give a window to register these assets in the new electronic registry as per the mortgage date that has been registered. So there will not be any issue on the priority identification, since on the date of mortgage registration done at the land registry from 2024 August to November 2024, we would provide a window to upload these data by the required banks, finance companies, and legal firms. So we have actually discussed this matter and provided a window. So let me take you through the 6 amendments that has been taken up for the effectiveness of the new Act number 17 of 2024 of Secure Transaction Register. So the first one is Companies Act number 23 of 2024 was amended to require the registration of floating charges of companies with the registrar and remove the search responsibility from ROC. So this is basically when a mortgage is being marked, the floating charge on the mortgage hereafter should not go to the ROC. So it should be registered in the Secure Transaction Registry. Nevertheless, when a company is being formulated, the required assets that need to be registered at the ROC will take place as it is. So since there is no floating security on mortgage that has to be registered on that requirement will not come to the Secure Transaction Registry. So if there is a liability marked, if there is a security interest to be marked, recorded, that particular aspect will be covered through the Secure Transaction Registry. Then Finance Lease Act number 21 of 2024 was amended to register the finance leases under the register. Now here, this is a little bit of a controversy where we need to have a proper understanding on this matter. Finance Lease Act number 21 of 2024 was amended to see that the facilities, the lease facilities where the ownership or the non-possessory right is not marked. Now, if you take, there are lease facilities where in case of vehicles, the registration basically are kept with the banks and finance companies. I'm sure you are aware of it. When under the Leasing Act, when you provide a lease facility, the absolute ownership of the asset retains with the lessor, that is the leasing organization or the lender who provides a lease facility. So in that case, they have the right to keep the registration documents, certificate of registration and transfer documents within their possession. Nevertheless, if you take machinery or if you take any other items that can be leased where the documentation cannot be kept. We call it non-possessory security, right? These assets, even under the Leasing Act, can be registered in the Secure Transaction Registry, right? So, other than that, vehicles that are going under mortgages, where the documents cannot be withheld at the in the particular lender's possession, where the mortgage is marked through a mortgage bond, will come into the Secure Transaction Register to mark the secured interest. Then in Inland Trust Receipt, Amendment Act number 22 of 2024 to register the Inland Trust Receipt with the new register instead of the Registrar of Lands. So earlier, the Inland Trust Receipts were registered under the Land Registry. Now it is no more valid. So it has to be registered in the electronic registry that has been introduced. Then Mortgage Act number 20 of 2024 was amended to register the mortgages of movable assets. Then Registration of Documents Ordinance, Act number 18 was amended, providing provisions relating to registration of instruments creating security rights on movable property under the Registration of Document Ordinance. Then Trust Receipts, Act number 19 of 2024, amended to register the trust receipts with the new register instead of registering at the Land Registry. So these are the 6 pieces of legislations that has been amended to provide the required legal framework for the Secured Transaction Registry to have the effectiveness. And the Secured Transaction Act number 17 of 2024 was created, repealing the Secured Transaction Act that was enacted at that time, which was 49 of 2009. So it is no more valid. Now the new Secured Transaction 17 of 2024 with these amendments have been made effective. So salient operational features of the STR are registries exclusively concerned with providing notices. I repeat, notices for the existence of relationship on secured transactions between parties, and acts as an electronic notice board. So it is an electronic notice board providing notices of secured interest. All non-possessory security rights. This is where I noted in the Leasing Act, where non-possessory security. Now, if you take gold loans, where gold article is kept as a possessory. So we can't bring possessory security into this. So non-possessory security rights created over any movable assets need to be registered for perfection. Order of registration of security interests will determine the priority in the event of competing claims. So that is where the priority can be marked. The first come who comes to the register will be first marked, and his priority will see over others who will mark on it. So that is extremely important, that when a lender or a legal firm or an individual with notarial license to register at the earliest in the Secure Transaction Registry to mark priority on the security rights. The STRA registry does not regulate the conduct of the parties to a financial transaction, nor is it concerned with assuring the legal effectiveness of the agreement between the parties. So legal effectiveness and the conduct of the parties should be covered through the legal agreements or certain bonds or underwriting instruments, statutory payment instruments to that transaction. So secure transaction register will not intervene or interfere in this particular aspect. The legal framework has been given. If it is a mortgage, the mortgage execution has to take place legally to see that the security is being enforced. So the register will not intervene on any of these behaviors or any of the legal aspects of it. Then the consent of the borrowers has to be obtained for the secured lender to register its security interest in the registry. So this is basically at the beginning, when a facility is to be given, the required consent from the borrower has to be obtained at source by the lending institution to see that this is being registered in the secured transaction registry. So let's basically go through what sort of actions that has been taken, and what sort of action that we can basically look into. As the STR is up and running at the moment, and there is overwhelming demand from all financial institutions, legal firms to register from 3rd November 2025. 25. All transactions going forward that are within the scope of the STR should be registered in the STR. So it is mandatory that all these transactions, in line with the 6 amendments that I discussed, that it should come to the electronic registry. All transactions that have been registered in the ROC, Registrar of Land, ROL, since the date of proclamation of the STR on 12th August 2024 should be re-registered into the STR. That is why I said that we have provided, or we will be giving a window to see that these registrations that has been taken place within this period will be captured. Then registration of notarized instruments on movable assets, as Registrar of the Land has been stopped since 1st January 2026. All of that should come to the registry. During the filing process, secured party can fulfill stated statutory requirements, registration as per notary ordinance by uploading the first page of the instrument containing the instrument number, mortgage bond number in the system. So in order to have proper governance standards, in order to see that the data that goes into this electronic register has authenticity, validity, the framework itself requires a person with notarial license to enter such transactions into the registry if it is not registered banks and finance companies. Because banks and finance companies, we have a procedure where there are appointed compliance officers, there are appointed legal professionals in those institutions who will be entering authenticated data into the system. The other parties in the society, when they wanted to mark a security interest, they have to go through a legal profession who has the notarial license. All other activities, transactions that is registered under RODO, that is Registrar of Documents Ordinance, Registrar of Land, and ROC, Registrar of Companies, should be brought into the STR from 12th August 2023. So it is mandatory that all these transactions has to come to the secure transaction register. So let me basically give an understanding of the assets that could be considered to mark in the electronic registry. So number one, machinery and equipments. So these are income generating assets to an economy. Machinery and equipments are used for the development of businesses and various entities. So they can be given as collateral and can be marked in the register as security interest. Then inventory and stock. This is basically any institute who has stock with them. Then inventory, invoices, which are forward transactions where the receivables can come in, can take into account and give it as security and marked in the secure transaction registry. Then receivables, where you have made a sale and you are expecting certain funds to come in as receivables. These funds can also be marked in the register as interested securities. Then consumer goods, moving stocks, non-perishable, can be marked or given as security interest. Charges over bank deposits can also be given as deposits. But here we need to understand deposits over lien cannot be taken because it is possessory items, where the deposit certificate is kept with the bank if it is under lien. So if it is non-possessory, charges over a bank deposit can be marked in the register. Then crops and other agriculture yields can be basically provided to the register. So if you see New Zealand, more than 90% of their livestock is on their secure transaction registry, where the farmers who are involved in this basically generates their working capital through securing their herds in large scale. So this is the effectiveness of the secure transaction registry in terms of developing the economy. Then livestock, which I just touched. Then investment instruments like various instruments, debentures, CPs can be kept under collateral in the registry. Then insurance policies can be kept. Intellectual property. This is the first time we are assisting knowledge financing, where intellectual property can be kept. If you are a owner of a movie where you have property rights, the owner can pledge or collateralize the movie and obtain credit to see that he would be able to utilize it for further development. Then mortgages on motor vehicles, where assets, movable vehicles are given on mortgages, not leasing, to come under the registry. So let me elaborate a few use cases on this. I will just take case one. A medium-sized distributor supplying goods to a supermarket requires continuous working capital. The company does not own land or building to mortgage. Bank accepts inventory and accounts receivables, that is invoice due from supermarkets, as collateral, and registers the security interest in the STR. So previously, this is a Class C security where bank or a finance company would think twice in providing working capital for such arrangement. But with this framework, there is no need to think twice. You would be able to basically provide working capital under that condition. Then case number two, a borrower applies for a loan using machinery and equipment. Construction, we will say construction equipment as collateral. Lender conducts a STR search and finds out that the same machinery has already been pledged to another lender. Why? Because we have given a search, electronic search. In the search, within seconds, you will see that these equipments have been collateralized. Lender can reject or request a separate security. So the visibility is available. Case number three, a farmer requires seasonal financing for cultivation and harvesting. Traditionally, the lender cannot secure the loan because land titles are unclear. Lender takes a security interest over future crops. So here, the farmer can provide the future, the harvest that you will get, the crops. You would be able to provide it as a security and obtain a loan to develop his agricultural work. Then case number 4, an importer, a trading company, brings goods into the country under a bank funding import line. We will say LC or import loan. The bank releases the goods to the importer under a trust receipt, allowing to sell the goods and repay the bank from the sale proceeds. Now, the bank can register its security interest on the STR. The trust receipt can be registered in the STR over the imported goods inventory and the proceeds of the sale. Once it is sold, the proceeds can be basically kept as receivables to pay the loan. So the legal framework for this entire process is being given in the Act. So when you register a trust receipt where you are expected to sell and provide the receivables to the bank, that entire framework can be covered through an agreement, and the security interest on the same can be registered in the registry. So these are 4 cases I outlined to have an understanding where how important this register is for the development of the economy and for the development of individuals' future. So the charges for the services, there are no charges for registration. Prior transactions that have been affected on other registries. So that is because we are giving a window to register within the period which I mentioned. So there is no charges for that. Then no charges for new registration until 1st February 2026. 1st February 2026. New registrations after 1st February 2026, because we gave 2 months period for the stakeholders to get familiarized with the system, to upload the required information. We have basically today we have somewhere around 1.8 trillion worth of assets gone into the register. So new registrations after 1st February 2026, there will be a charge of 1,500. Then search is free. So no charges for any subsequent amendments to the asset or in case of termination. So once the asset is registered, amendments can go into it in time to time. Then once the secured interest has come to an end, the termination has to go in. None of those things will be charged. So there is only one charge, that is 1,500 for the registration, electronic registration in the electronic registry. So if I take the first scenario, I will just take you through. This is actually the most common where we started immediately when we launched into in 2025 November, where we gave access to all banks and non-bank financial institutions, because we had a ongoing mechanism where compliance officers had been appointed in every bank and in a non-bank financial institution. We had a established framework in order to upload data. So through the compliance officer, we uploaded to the data to the system. Then we appointed a STR admin user, and the credentials were taken. They were basically verified, and onboarded to the STR system. So accuracy of data was one of the key factors that we looked at, and also creation of various users under strict security conditions were carried out through this framework. So this is the first framework where almost 69 banks and finance companies were given access. Then we went into the external parties through notaries and law firms. That is where we are currently providing the required access. So all law firms and legal professionals who have notarial license can submit online application, the create user profile, and the user can basically use the ID via ID to onboard the required data into the secure transaction registry. So this is not a complicated process at all. We are there to basically advise and then see that the required handholding is being carried out. It's a very simple process. It is very much easier than going to the land registry manually and getting it registered there. So it's click of a button, you would be able to upload the required information and register it in the electronic registry. Then the third scenario is system used by external parties, notaries, law firms on behalf of CRIB members. So that is where bank can appoint, most banks and finance companies may have legal officers working for them. At the same time, there are legal officers whom they have assigned, or they have agreements where their legal work, notarial work, is being done by those legal professionals in various parts of the country. So they also can be onboarded where logs will be, user creation will be provided at their request. Then user confirmation to act on behalf of the bank or the FC has to be given, and the general user credentials will be created, and he or she would be able to upload the required information to the register. Then system used by external parties, notaries, law firms on behalf of other lenders. Now this is where, say you have a large organization where the organization wanted to lend certain funds to one of its subsidiaries, or one of the subsidiaries wanted to provide some of its assets and borrow funds from its parent company, or an individual going to another party and ask for a borrowing, and the lender wants to obtain a security and mark it on a legal framework where these individuals can come to a lawyer, a legal professional who has the registration, who has been registered under the with the notary license. They would be able to basically see that the required legal assistance is given to those parties, and the transaction is marked in the electronic registry. So in this manner, the entire process is being structured, and we see that the data lake that we are creating here is trustworthy, is accurate, and governed for future use and for search functions. So these are the key salient features that I have basically spoken of. So let me end my presentation by giving few tips on how to be stay informed on the register and what factors that need to be looked at. So being with the secure transaction registry, we have a separate authority, we have a separate board, then we have separate employees for that. So being in touch with the secure transaction registry is extremely important to see that new developments, new SIMs, new operational instructions are being given, and have an understanding on those matters. Then stakeholders from all sectors should collaborate to maximize the benefits of the STR for the Sri Lankan economy. So all need to understand the importance of this legal framework and then see that everyone provides that required assistance for the general public to take the maximum benefit of this legal structure we have provided. Then policy alignment. Banks and NBFIs must update their credit policies, legal documentation, and operational workflows. This is very important. We would not be able to enter into this new landscape if we have not have an understanding and update the existing credit policies, legal documentation, and operational workflows, and issue required SOPs, operational instructions to staff, then training, make a checker controls. It's very important that controls are being carried out at the onboarding level, and audit mechanisms to ensure accuracy, compliance, and effectiveness of the enforceability of this legal framework. Then stay informed. Regular updates and capacity building sessions will be held to ensure that the required parties, the actors in this whole framework, are properly educated and SMEs are effectively provided required assistance and required credit growth can be seen in those sectors. Then banks and finance companies and agents. When I say agents, these are legal firms, professionals with notarial license who are working directly with the Secure Transaction Registry should promote the register. Then introduction of third-party accessories. This is actually where we are looking at as phase 2, where in other countries like Singapore, China, the Secure Transaction Register is more than 12 trillion US dollars. They build highways, they build economic infrastructure, all on the Secure Transaction Registry. So we need to bring this knowledge. We need to see that new third-party firmware are being introduced, to see that supplier chain financing are being introduced, which are considered as our second phase, where knowledge-based structures formed to see that we get the maximum benefit. So this is basically the compress of the entire gamut of this new institutional and legal framework that I would like to highlight. So from here, I would like to basically take you through the system. We'll give a brief understanding of the system, how someone can get on board, how someone can use the system. It is a very simple thing. It is nothing complicated. And my colleague Lakmal will take over from here and provide a walkthrough of the system that we have introduced. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pushpika, for that comprehensive presentation. I think now we are going to the operational side, which all the lawyers and the legal firms have been looking forward to. So now we will have on board Lakmal, who will do the presentation. I think we are running behind little time, so I hope the webinar committee will facilitate us, giving us a little extended time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon again. Thank you, Ms. Gunawardena. And so we got a comprehensive understanding about the operational, legal, and legal aspect of this whole system. So I will basically, in a short, take only 15 to 20 minutes, Ms. Gunawardena. So just to show the audience, basically, we are now, we have a learn audience comprising of lawyers. So as Mr. Pushpika explained, so I will basically look at, just explain how the individual lawyers and then the notary firms, representative from the notary firms can be onboarded into the system through a simple process. So basically, the presentation consists of two parts. I will just show you how uh, notaries. Yeah. How notaries and law firms can come on board as authorized users and get their credential to the authority. And the same time, so once you get these credentials, how you can go ahead with the registration process and then do the registration for the other parties. Especially, we were talking about non-banks and non-financial parties, like microfinance companies and so on. And even for individual level creditors can be accommodated through registration of notices by lawyers and lawyers and law firms. So I is with me. We join in my colleague Udana Veerasinghe. So he will be he will just take us to the system. So first, I think, as you all know that, we have developed a web application system that's a secure transaction on-time registry. So first of all, you have to reach our website to submit your credentials. So that's str.lk, www.str.lk, what you see on the screen is the website address. When you reach this website, so you will see the notice we have already published for notaries and law firms targeting their requirement. So you can just go through and then the same thing that what you're going to address today in this presentation. So once you clear it out, and then you will see the first page, the home page, where you see two tabs. They are My Account and New User Registration. So My Account for already secured users already who have been registered in the registry. But as so we are talking about the onboarding of notaries and law firms. So before I just move in, I just want to give you a very clear understanding about the two types of users we are accommodating in the registry. As Mr. Pushpika already explained that, we have already enabled all banks, finance companies. So we have around 62 licensed banks and finance companies. They have been already given this access through their respective divisions. So they are just carrying out this registration at the moment. So now we are talking about other type of creditors and lenders, expand into different type of credit segments. Microfinance institution, trade creditors, different type of other authority, other legal, other business entities, legal bodies, and including individual creditors. So then they will be represented by you as agent. So agent, by the provision of the act. So agent definition is there. So we are accommodating agents uh, in the system. So only we are allowing notaries and law firms to act as agents on behalf of these non-licensed banks and finance companies. So now you to come on board. So first you have to click this new user registration on the website. Then you will be taken to the next page where you can enter. I know some of this registration portal has been open for some time now because we have enabled it for lawyers and law firms to submit their details, but still we have not dispatched user IDs, password who have submitted these details, so that will be started tomorrow onwards. Nothing to worry. So you will be getting your user IDs, password who have submitted these details already into the system. So I just take you through the simple menu where the individual notary, how you can request your user ID and password. So it's a simple the page where you have to enter certain details. I won't just go through field by field. But only one aspect is that we are expecting you to submit your notary license number, and also you to upload your notary license certificate. So that's all. Additionally, other than that, certain personal details, including your email address. Email address is very valid, so it has to be the active one where you can get all these notification and also a certain registration level information when you start this using the system. And the same time, you will be required to provide certain other very limited demographic details about you. So once you so that's for the notary, individual notary. Sorry, if you are representing, if you as an agent, if you are representing a law firm, the same registration profile in the different menu. You have to enter the law firm's information, business entities information, your business registration number, and so on. So we will be allowing any law firm to register two individuals as agents. So you can basically, they have not necessarily be lawyers or the notaries. So you can assign any person to be registered as authorized user. But now once you do the registration, so we will be showing the agent's name as a not the law firm's name, not user's name, but the agent's name will be appeared as a law firm name. But these users can continue registration or the filing of notice on behalf of your clients. So then again, you have to submit your business registration certificates. You have to upload into the system and submit to the bureau. So we'll just go through this submitted information, and we'll be dispatching these user IDs from tomorrow onwards for who have already submitted the details, and then who wish to come on board as agents and to act on behalf of your client. So you can start submitting data tomorrow onwards into the website on these through these pages. So now we will take you to the system. This is the online register. This is the, as he explained, is the notice board, electronic notice board, where you register certain details you covering your client. So your client is we call as a secured party, and also and the borrower's debtors details, and the same time any sort of a loan details related to loan transaction, other collateral details. So now when you enter your user ID and password through user account on the website, as I mentioned earlier, you go to the www.str.lk, you will see the other tab where the user account. So then you click that user account. So you will be prompted to the next page where you can enter your user ID and password. I think Udana has already passed that page. Now, yeah, I just show you again. So this is the, if you go to the so you come to str.lk. So you click new user registration to submit your details. Now you click, we assume that you have already got your user ID password into your email from us. And then now with your credential, you will click this My Account, come to this page, user login page, and you enter. At the first instance, you have to change. Yeah, at the first login, you have to change your password. So it's the password provided is a system generated password. But you need to change your password with required in the required format. So then you come to home page of the registry, the electronic registry. On the left hand side, you will see home, initial registration, prior registration, and my registration, amendments, and profile details, and the logout. So simple menu. So the important two menus are initial registration and the prior registration. So we have already explained, Mr. Pushpika already detail out why this is important, because the registry has been effective since August 2024. So, and then the only because of the Gazette notification. So the online register was ready since November 2025. So until such time, so the register was not there, and then we expect all parties to bring their all registration what have happened since August 2024 in other registries like Register of Lands and under Chanchala Lekana, under you used to register there under document ordinance, and then certain charges you have registered already on the register of companies in the charges register, so they need to be brought into this registry. So that's why we have provided this prior registration button. And then when you click by prior registration, so now here I should explain that if you are starting new registration, so you don't have to worry about this this menu. But actually, if you want to register your clients, your creditor, if you are representing some sort of a lending institution, if they want to bring their all registration from a register of land and register of companies, so you can help them to bring them as an authorized user. So you have to come on this particular portal and then click this click prior registration. So in the prior registration menu, you will see that we are asking, as we explained, that the borrower's consent is important, and then here not in the new registration, not in a on the prior registration, we are not asking you to click this prior client consent, but here in the prior registration menu, you only have to enter initial registration date. The initial registration date means that the transaction, your registration date in the register of land or under document ordinance or the register of company. So that's there, where you can select this prior registration date that has taken place in the other registry and then proceed to registration. So this date will be carried forward in your filing. So once this filing is completed, you will see the registration date as a date what you have entered in the file. So that's the additional page that you will come across to ensure that you enter your past transaction date in the registry. So then after that, you come to initial registration. So even though if you are trying to go ahead with the initial registration as a notary or the agent from a law firm, so we'll come across this usual web page what we are showing now. But if you are trying to first register, you should trying to do a prior registration. So you will go through the particular the page or the menu what we have shown earlier, and you will come to the after you proceeding, you will come to the same page what you are showing now. So it's under initial registration. This is a very particular page what you seen as a notary and law firm. This won't be shown to any user from a bank or finance companies. This has been developed specifically for your purpose, for you to carry on this transaction. Now here, we as Mr. Jayasundara explained that we are charging 1,500 for every transaction, every registration. Other actions, other type of the transaction are free of charge. So only the registration or the filing of a notice will be charged 1,500 rupees. So what you can do is now we will be allowing you to upload. Basically, we call it as a top up. So first you have to top up your account based on your requirement. So if you are trying to register one transaction, so you can go ahead with one registration and then top up your account. So we will, at the moment, we have not enabled internet payment gateway. This is going to be a completely internet-based payment procedure. But at the moment, since the IPG internet payment gateway is not enabled, so we are at the moment for a few weeks, we will be accommodating you to deposit this deposit required funds into our account that is maintained at the Bank of Ceylon. So the account detail will be published soon on this website under your portal. You can see them. So that particular deposit slips need to be uploaded into this page. So if you are going, if you want to have, let's see now as a law firm, if you want to carry on, if you want to just go ahead with the somewhere 10, 15 registration, in a day or, in future, maybe, within the next 1 or 2 weeks. So you can, straight away, go into this uploading section, top up section, and then, upload your required funds total into that particular number of transactions. So when you top up your account, so you will see that your account has been fill up with the required funds. Then you can go ahead with the initial registration. So when you click this initial registration, so as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, so you need to ensure that the required consent from the debtor has been obtained by your client. Your client is a secured party or any lender or any sort of individual lender. So they have to make sure that the debtor's consent is already obtained to register your notice. But there are 2 scenarios where you can fulfill, either of scenarios can be fulfilled just to make sure that debtor consent is obtained. So usually when your client your client and the debtor has already executed a security agreement or the mortgage or whatever, so that amounts to be a consent. So they don't have to specifically take consent from a borrower. But there are situations where in case of if you want to in advance register your security interest on particular assets, and there is in a situation like where there is a ongoing negotiation or certain interaction between the creditor and the debtor, so still the creditor can come on this registry and then register their security interest, but subject to debtor's consent. So these are the 2 scenarios, but in majority of cases in Sri Lanka, 95, 96, of the percentage that the transaction, the registration will happen after the particular security transactions or the agreements have been executed. So then you proceed to registration. So this is the very specific the page what you see as an individual lawyer, individual notary, or the agent from a law firm developed for you. So that's where you can select your type of a creditor. It can be an individual creditor you are representing, or you are representing a kind of a body of person, kind of a legal entity or a business entity who is a creditor or a lender. So and the other section is a bank and finance institution. Is still if you are representing the number of banks as a panel lawyer, you are not an employee of the particular bank or the finance company, but still you work or you perform your duties as a panel lawyer for on behalf of a particular bank or finance institution. Still you can come on board and do whatever registration required for that bank and finance institution. So these are 3 scenarios. Again, I will repeat. So if you are representing the individual, it's just one individual as a secured party. So they are talking about having a certain loan transaction between 2 individuals, right? So then you are representing the individual who is lending. So you come on this first section, you click that individual. If you are representing any sort of a business entity, lending business entity, so then you click the second option. And then if you are representing any bank or financial institution as a panel lawyer, still you can go to this third option. So we'll just first look at the individual or the business entity. you are representing business, assume that you represent a business entity and then come on board as an agent to file this notice for your client. You have to just enter your the business registration number of your client and then the name of your client. So then you search if this client has been already registered in the database by another secured party earlier, so that the system will automatically pick up this credential, his detail from the database. So if you don't see that data is not picked up or not fed up from the database, then that means that this client is a new client, new secured party in the registry. Then you have to enter details. So here we'll see. So then if this particular client or the secured party is not there in the registry, not in the database, so you have to enter certain details of this company, something like company's name and then the BR registration, then that's optional. And the address and the company contact details, certain information is optional, but email would be required field. And you have to upload business certification, business registration certification, the copy of business registration certificate on the website. So when you enter all these details, when you complete the form, so you will see the summary of the information of this entity, what you want to register as a secured party or a lender or a creditor. Then you go ahead with you proceed to file registration. So this is the main section of the system. That's where you enter detail about your transaction. So as Mr. Pushpika already explained that any secure transaction, we'll know three parties. There's a secured party, debtor, and the collateral. So the secured party details already been entered by you, or either it has been fetched up by the system as a already existing client. So you don't have to enter any sort of details here. It will be automatically shown in the page under secured party. So then you come to debtor. That's the debtor is the borrower. That's where your client has let's say has given certain funds as part of the loan transaction. So then you can enter your client's borrower details here. Again, can switch. Yeah, at the same time, it's like earlier situation, you can enter your debtor's NIC number and then the name, but only just enter your NIC number and then you can search again. If this debtor has been already registered in the system as a borrower, so that the system will pick up this information. You don't have to enter. But if you find certain details of the borrower's personal details have been changed, so you can still correct them and then go ahead with the registration. So here we are entering certain details of a borrower who is still a new client for the system. So there are situations where you can enter multiple borrowers, multiple debtors into the system. So you have to follow the same process, but you have to just under the borrower, under the debtor section, you can you can add you can add another debtor the tab and enter same details of the second borrower. Legal entity. Yeah, and the same time, so the debtor can be individual debtor or a legal entity. And if it is a legal entity, you can just enter BR number and then search if this particular entity has been already reported by another secured party or another to another as part of another transaction. So it will be shown on the screen. If it is not there, if it is a new client, new borrower as a legal entity, so you can enter details of the particular entity. So then the next section is the collateral section, where you need to select collateral details of this transaction. Can be machinery, equipment, or inventory and stocks, what we have shown earlier. So you just select any of these, any of the collateral type. So we have selected machinery and equipment. So you enter basic information about the machinery, and then if it is a if you have serial number, you need to enter serial number of the machine, and then the location details also part of this filing under collateral. And we have given another option for you to upload other details if there's a valuation report of this machinery as a part of the transaction. So you can upload valuation report. And also, as we mentioned earlier, if there is a notarized instrument, like mortgage bond already executed under this transaction, so you need to upload first page of the mortgage document, notarized instrument. And if you have any pictures or any certain details, you want to add as a part of this transaction, you still can upload the details in this collateral description section. So what you see on the basic information under this collateral section is the important part is, you are entering, very descriptive details about the collaterals. That's very important, because when we are providing this search facility for other lenders to search this registry, this will be shown as part of the search result. So it's very important that you uniquely identify your client's collateral. So that's basically you can extract from the loan transaction agreement or the security agreement. So you can enter these details for your clients. So if there are multiple collateral involved in the transaction in this filing, so you can add more collateral types. Like if you sometime select stocks and the stocks and yeah, it can be inventory or stocks, and at the same time, you can go ahead with receivables on the same transaction. Or if you want to add machinery or equipment as part of this transaction, still you can go ahead. So you can have multiple collateral types added into the transaction, depend on the transaction type. So we have added two types of collateral here into the transaction. As we go ahead with we proceed to the next section. Go to facility detail section as the last part of this filing. That's where under facility detail section, so you will enter your loan, your client's loan, facilities, some description about the loan facility, and the value of a facility need to be entered. And if there is a mortgage, if it is a mortgage, then mortgage value need to be entered. And then still there is a valuation already been carried out, so that you can enter value of the asset as part of this filing. So then the tenure of the agreement, tenure of the facility also need to be entered here. The facility start date is mandatory. End date is not mandatory because you can you can enter certain details about the revolving facilities in this context. So that's why we kept this facility end date as non-mandatory field, but the facility start date is mandatory. So this section, the facility detail section, contains a very important data fields, but it's still it's a simple page. Only the value of the facility and mortgage value and the value of asset need to be entered if they are applicable, and the tenure of the agreement. So that's why that's all on the filing side. So you can go to next step where you can review whatever you have entered from the inception of this transaction from this filing. So if there are anything you need to change, so you can go ahead with changes. And then once it is completed, so you can submit it to the STAR authority. That's for it will come to us. So we'll have a kind of a check and balance at our end. So we will cross-verify certain information. So if it is accurate and then acceptable, as per our standard, accepted standard, so that we will approve that transaction. So when you go into My Registration tab, so when you log into the system and when My Registration tab, so you'll be seeing all these approved transaction or transaction waiting for approval at the STR authority. So all will be shown under your My Registration tab. Even if you want to later on want to change certain details of the transaction of this filing, so you can use amendment tab on your portal, and this amendment option will allow you to amend or change certain details of your filing in a later stage. For example, if your client want to prematurely end your facility, so you can come on as amendment option and then change the facility end date, something like that. If you want to, if your clients want to basically release some of the collateral already registered in this transaction, so still you can come on this system and under amendment notice, and then still you can amend these details in the transaction and then re-register to reflect new condition of the filing. So when you go into My Registration, so you under approved transaction, you will see the reference ID. That is very important. That is issued by the authority for your transaction. And then you will see finance statement. That's the legally valid document issued by the authority for you to make sure that your transaction is validly entered. And it has, if you go through these details of the finance statement, you will see registration information, registration number, registration type, and the date of registration and the time. So that's very important. So based on this date and time, the priority will be assured and then will be marked on this transaction. And also primary secured party is your client's name. So under agent information, it will show your details. If you are a individual notary, your details will be appeared. If you have formal law firms, law firms details will be appeared as agent details. And in addition to that, other information what you have entered under debtor, collateral, and then facility details section will be appeared as shown. If you want to change some of the information even after your registration, if you see this information is not right, still you can come on system, go to amendment and do certain changes on this filing and resubmit. The amendment notices won't be approved at our level. It's a straightforward submission. So you will enter details accurately. You have to make sure that, details will be entered, and then, whatever changes you want to carry on should be, double check, verified, and then submit to the authority. There won't be any approval at our end. It will be directly written into the database. And the other important aspect is that, once this notice file is issued by the registry, you will see finance statement, what we have shown you in the earlier screen. At the same time, you will be receiving a verification statement into your email and your client email. Yeah, you will receive verification. There is another document we will be issuing, the authority will be issuing. It is called verification statement. You will receive into your email plus your client's email address, your client's, secured party's email address. So that verification statement needs to be forwarded to your client's borrower. So basically, the borrower of the transaction or the debtor within text 10 days for his information. That is a requirement. That's a provision that is set by the Act that has to be fulfilled by you or by your client. So that's all from our end at the moment. But this is a very very basic very basic overview, and then understanding what we try to give you at this moment. But there are a few other aspects I think we can provide some more details through our website, through our portal, because we will be uploading user manuals, required guidance to be referred by you as an authorized user. Once you log into your portal, once you log into your page, so you will be seeing required user guidance and then the reference manual available for your reference. At the same time, within next within next 1 month time, we are trying to have a video video guidance produced for you to go through, and then where you can just go through this video material, and then to learn how you can go ahead with the registration. And at the same time, I think with the help of Bar Association, we will be conducting some more webinars. We'll be providing more details about these registration system and also the certain operational aspect of the register. But there won't be any additional things other than what we have explained at the moment. But maybe very few example, or maybe certain lesson what we have, what we could bring into your attention in terms of this registration process. So that's all from our end, Mrs. Gunawardana. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, if there are any
Yes,
so
I feel that actually, because it's an entirely new thing, there will be now there have been certain practical issues that have been raised by lawyers. Now, one lawyer told me now she has executed a lease agreement over movables, because sometimes it happens. You lease machinery, then you even through private parties, and when you tendered it to the land registry, they are refusing to register it. Then she has an issue, because if you don't register under the new Notaries Act, the amending act, we have to register within 30 days if it is within your district. If it is outside your jurisdiction, within 60 days. Now that's the issue, because then she told me when she inquired from the crib that she was told that we cannot register. Is that true?
Sorry, Mrs. Gunawardana.
Will you be able?
Hello. Hello. Hi, Ms. Gunawardana. Can I basically, I couldn't follow the question. Would you be able to repeat it, Ms. Gunawardana?
Yes. Now what happens, Mr. Jayasundara? Now, there are leases, not a financial lease from a finance company. There are leases registered between private parties. Say, a tea factory owner
Yeah.
that wants to lease out his machinery to the other part. And then
Right.
there's an agreement notarized by a notary,
Right.
which sets out the terms and conditions, and there's a schedule which contains the list of documents, list of
Correct.
machinery, serial numbers and all. So
Correct.
this has to be registered. When she wanted to register it at the land registry has refused registration.
Correct.
But according to my instruction, when she came to the STR, he has been told it's not a charge, it is only a lease. But then you will have to you will have to take into consideration that under the notary's ordinance, we have made it mandatory. If a notary executes any deed or any
Correct.
instrument, it has to be registered properly. So where we have an issue when it comes to the enforceability, we are going to have an issue if it is not registered either in the land registry or in the STR. So
Right.
how do we solve that issue?
Yeah. So this it is very clear. It is very clear that this is a case where equipments have been leased and a mortgage has been executed by a notary, and then
No mortgage is executed.
okay. So
Only a
it's basically
lease, no
notary.
mortgage.
Yeah, it's not notarized.
It's a
So this has
notarized document.
absolutely. So this has to come to the STR registry.
Right. So what I suggest, Mr. Jayasundara,
Yeah.
we can get together and through the bar association, if we can clarify these things, and we should have about 2-3 webinars for our people to get to know this system, and to get to. However, if we can, like a simple set of rules can be given, even with the land registries, it will be very easy because
Absolutely.
land registries have their own rules.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Unlike other institutions, yeah, they try to audit the law notaries and because they are only a registration institution, as you all correctly pointed out. That's what you all are also doing.
Exactly.
You need not look at the genuineness and this and that. That has to
Absolutely.
be argued in a court of law.
Absolutely.
So, but the moment what happens is the notary, the lawyer notaries are having a very difficult time. And I think next time when we have a seminar or webinar, we should get some people from the Registrar General to be with us.
Absolutely. 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 So as you very
Thank
correctly
you.
pointed out, Ms. Gunawardana, we will have a session with the Bar Association also, clarify these matters. Basically, then as SOPs, we will see that we disseminate it to required parties.
Yes. Thank you very much. Then maybe if there are any questions, we can answer about 2 questions. I rather too late. Are there any questions in the chat box, please?
There are.
Are there? Can you display? I mean, I can't see the.
Yeah, I think
questions.
one of the key things that has been repeated is basically the deadline. Where 12th August 2026, how are we to onboard the past transactions?
Yes.
So this is where actually we are. We see we have already discussed, identify the challenge where we are trying to get an extension, discussing this matter with the required parties. So we are looking at actually extending this this window that has been given. And one more question is basically whether this gets automatically transferred to the STR registry. No, it will not. What we will do is we will provide as batches that it could be uploaded, where we will give a format where the data has to be populated into that particular table, and the table will be captured as a batch, and then we'll be able to upload as per the registered date of the particular document.
Excuse me, now the way I understand, now there are instruments which are at the land registry. Now
Correct.
yeah, the way I understood, there's a window through which those things have to come to the STR. Am I
Absolutely.
correct?
Absolutely, Ms. Gunawardena.
Yes. Yeah, and but that now we can't do because our instruments are at the land registry.
Recorded at the land registry. Yes.
So how
So now this is
are
where,
we going?
yeah, this is where Mrs. Gunawardena, now the window is basically from 2024 to 2025 November. So the
Yes,
security
yes.
is marked during this particular window. The details have to be captured into the electronic register as per the date that it was registered at the land registry. So that is the fundamental in that process. So what we are trying to do is we are going to give a format where that data will be populated into the format, uploaded to us as a batch, where we will incorporate it in the system.
So it automatically will come and get registered in your STR.
Which is basically applicable to that particular window.
It will, right, because now the Registrar General's Department issued a letter, general letter stating that after particular date they are not going to accept
Absolutely.
such instruments.
Exactly.
So, but there's a whole lot of and because these are security documents, and it's a responsibility on professionals
Absolutely.
see that the secure documents are given to the custodians.
Absolutely.
So we have issues. So what you say, it will get automatically sorted out.
Yeah, no, not automatically. It is a process where we will provide the required tables, and these documents that is recorded there, the data pertaining to those records will be populated into that table that we provide and submit it to us. We will basically from our backend we will upload it to the system.
Right. I understand. I hope the participants of the webinar also understood this question. And I propose that the Bar Association has a one-to-one session where we invite you all, and our notary lawyers are given a chance to get their things clarified, because now you all are on board with Bar Association under Mr. Rajiv Amarasuriya's blessings. I think we should do that. If compare if there are any import questions you may, otherwise we can. I think all of us have been here at least for about more than 2 hours. So I invite the compere to come out and terminate the proceedings.
Thank you very much, sirs and madam. This brings us to the end of the 90th webinar and the episode 1 of series 8, titled Secure Transactions Register, in collaboration with the Credit Information Bureau of Sri Lanka. I thank our esteemed panelists, Mr. Pushpika Jayasundara and Mr. Janaka Lakmal, and our moderator, Senior Instructing Attorney, Mrs. Shiranti Gunawardena, for the fruitful and educational discussion, and for dedicating your time to be here with us and sharing your insights. I would like to thank the Bar Association Webinars and Legal Symposiums Committee for their hard work in organizing this insightful webinar. I also extend my thanks to all the participants who joined in for this session today. Thank you all, and I wish you a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Ms. Gunawardena. Thank you all the
We should
participants.
also thank all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bihangi, there are a few questions already there on the Q&A one. I think, can you just
Right.
note down, and then I was able to reply some of the queries, but I think there are some remaining questions
Yes.
where
If they are,
where we can provide some our response.
how do we do that?
Udana has noted down, but I don't know, how we can provide back our reply, no? We don't know.
So can't we, because now can't we answer these questions? And because I think we will be uploading this the YouTube also, and the participant now the bars also.
For some question I have answered, but there are still some
Yes.
remaining.
But how many questions are remaining?
One, two. There are around 6 or 7.
So if they are similar, can you answer them now? If there are similar questions.
No, I think one by one we have to.
August.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, notaries to execute document agreement, notarial or not?
We should provide the answer in the chat box itself.
Provide that in the frequent aspect FAQ section 1.
Yeah.
Can you answer in the chat box itself?
Yes.
Let me just read out Ms. Gunawardana for everyone's.
Right.
So the last question: are notaries to execute documents, agreements, notarial or not? Right. So that's second question from down. In liquidation, will the registry issue certified searches showing date and time of registration for use by liquidated tenants courts? That definitely, because when you register a particular notice, so we will be issuing this legal document. What we have shown finance statement. Yeah, and also same time, if you search and then search result will be validated and will be provided as a document, valid document from the registry. So I think for that that's the answer. And there is another one. As per the amendments to Registration Document Ordinance, all registration prior to implementation date of the STR Act, all secured interest shall be registered within 2 years. I think we have addressed that 2-year period ends 12/8/2026. What is the plan to register such security interest? So I think we have addressed. There are two things actually we are looking at, uploading these transaction on a batch format. And also I think we are looking at little bit extend this period further. We need to, liaise with the ministry in this regard. As two aspects we consider going forward. There's other question. Suppose anyone obtain a gold loan from a bank A and wants to get another facility, how a notary can execute an agreement? Is Gunawardana,
Gold
can you answer?
loans, actually,
Yeah.
yes. Now gold loans are done under 2 acts. One is under the Mortgage Act, if you are an approved credit agency. And number 2, under Pawning Act, another Pawning Act. In both the instances, in the possessory, the goods are in your possession. Therefore, the question of enforceability and the priority will not arise. Because what is given, the gold jewelry given to you is in your. So therefore, I think its a possession is there. So therefore, there's no necessity for it to be registered other than to get follow the procedure given in the Pawning Act or the Mortgage Act for credit agencies. Because I think the STR is more if the goods are not in your possession, if the goods are in the possession of the customer. Because this, especially mortgage of jewelry, 50,000, 100,000, 25,000. And if we start registering all that, and if we want to charge 1,500 from each client, there's going to be a big calamity. Unless it's going on some agreement or something where the gold is kept in the shop in some other place.
Okay, Ms. Gunawardhan, I think, yeah, we have done, and then, so I think we could not address.
Okay,
and
then
there's a question that, who is the registrar and the CEO of the STR? So I think, at the moment, so I am acting as a registrar. So then any queries can be directed to us through website and then through contact details to us. So I think that's all, Ms. Gunawardhana. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think, and we have to thank you. You all have been very flexible, very open, and we have had a cordial relationship with you all. So therefore, I think we will continue this series of webinars, and the next one we will have it again so that all the participants can participate and they can enhance their knowledge. Thank you again. Good night.
Okay, thank you.